Hello health buddies, when it comes to Ravneet Bhalla cookies, you will always find a health angle, है ना? Par packed biscuits without baking powder or soda. I'll talk a little about the flour, but let's get started with the recipe. You need half cup of jaggery powder, sift it. Make sure the jaggery powder is dry. 3 tablespoons of solid ghee, as you always find in my recipes, cookie recipes. 3 tablespoons of solid ghee or butter if you want. If you want to use butter, then you will need to add 2 tablespoons extra of flour. Now whisk until fluffy, and always sift dry ingredients when you are baking my cookies. Whisk until fluffy. It will gradually change to pale color, and when it changes to pale color, you know it is ready for the next step. Continue to whip, and this requires patience. 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Whip again. Salt is always added to check the sweetness. 1 tablespoon of thick curd or hung curd, and if you do not want to add curd to the cookies, then you can add 1 tablespoon of ghee instead. Or if you are using butter, then don't use anything at all. Skip this. Now it is quite loose, so because it's extremely hot, so it gets loose. In summers, you will need to freeze it for at least 10 minutes, and this is how the frozen mix looks like. I froze for 10 minutes and then started whipping, and it whipped perfectly. Now please check the cookie baking basics as well. Add 2 tablespoons of dehydrated milk powder. This is infant formula actually. You can use milk powder of choice. I use Amul spray, which is touted to be only milk and no sugar, no added sugar. Now we'll be adding flour in batches. Sift 1 cup of chatua atta or multigrain flour. Now I'll talk a little about the chatua atta. It's widely popular in Odisha, particularly in its villages, and it is a kind of fiber-rich, protein-rich, par-packed multigrain flour, which is made with the whole wheat, chickpeas, black chickpeas, poha or flattened rice, and rice. Rice is optional actually. Now add ajwain here. It's optional. I add for flavor. I love the flavor of ajwain in cookies. Do try it out. You will forget every artificial flavor if you start using ajwain or natural spices. Natural spices raise the flavor of any recipe to another level. So I am adding the flour in batches. I did not add the 1 cup all together. I added in batches just to keep a check on the consistency of the dough, as I always do in my cookies. So please check cookie baking basics or any of my cookie recipes without baking powder or soda, so that you can bake perfectly crispy cookies. Now I am adding little more flour, 1/4 cup of flour extra. So if you're using butter, you will need to check how much of flour needs to go into this recipe, because for butter you need little extra flour, at least 2 tablespoons extra of flour. Now gather into a ball. Never ever knead my cookie dough. I'm just gathering it into a ball, because if you start kneading, it will develop gluten. And look at the dough, it's quite soft, and this is how my cookie dough is always. At this time, please preheat your oven, OTG, convection and air fryer to 160 degrees for at least 10 minutes, and air fryer can be preheated for only 5 minutes. Now dust with dry flour and roll into a thick chapati, as we always do. Just you can keep these of at least 1/4 inch in thickness. If you don't have any measurement in mind, just keep these at least twice or thrice the thickness of a roti. We don't want to keep these very thin because if you keep these very thin, then they will be like crackers and they will burn out easily, and too thick cookies might remain soggy. Now cut shapes, and I try to be a little artistic here again, and this is optional. You can use a fork to make insertions. This design really looked pretty on these cookies, so do try out this design. Right, now we'll need to bake these for 15 to 18 minutes at 160 degrees, and remember this is a roasted flour already. At 160 degrees, you can use multigrain atta. If you have multigrain atta, you can use that, but if you use this flour, then the cookies will really smell and taste like horlicks. It's really delicious, I tell you. It uses nothing at all, and these healthy cookies turn out to be extremely nutritious, protein rich, fiber rich, and of course delicious. Check if done after 15 or 18 minutes. Some machines take longer, some will take less time, so please check them if they have crisped up. They will crisp up upon cooling as well, and this is how they look now. Let them cool completely before trying this out. This is how they crisped up. They were so crunchy, crispy, nutritious cookies without baking powder and soda. You will literally enjoy this recipe. I'll share the recipe of chatua flour if you really need. There is a secret to making the chatua atta actually, so I would really like to share it with you all. So do write to me in comments if you really want to know how chatua is made. I hope you like this recipe. If you do, please give it a thumbs up. Take care. Bye.